Is XRP finally ready to rally, or is this the end of all things where XRP haters can finally hold hands once and for all and take revenge? Well, I'm going to tell you that I think XRP is showing more strength than ever, not just because of the fundamentals, but because of what the waves are telling us. Now, before we begin and get into the wave counts, for those of you who don't know, the Elliott Wave Theory aims to provide a more structured approach to market analysis, and it's designed to be unbiased. This is what I specialize in. Now, why? Because the wave theory is a rules-based approach and has a specific set of rules that help you identify the trends from an objective point of view, no matter how emotional the markets may be. It basically attempts to model the collective psychology of the price action, or investor psychology rather, through repeating wave structures in only two sequences known as the 5s and 3s, denoted as some kind of ABC variation of some sort. And a 5-wave structure is the continuation of a trend, and the 3-wave structure is a counteractive wave that works against the trend. And in theory, these 5s and 3s are infinite because the markets are fractal on all time frames, and you can always zoom in and find smaller degree waves within the waves. But in practice, that's not what you should be doing. You should be focusing on the macro, ladies and gentlemen. It's about navigating the fractals intelligently and balancing the precision of the lower time frames with the larger macro structure that eventually creates that larger 5-wave move to the upside and a 3-wave move to the downside. And as long as you align those lower time frame wave counts with the higher time frame bias, it helps you avoid getting lost in noise when zoomed in too much, while also staying flexible because the wave counts can evolve as more data unfolds on the micro time frames. So if you're able to identify what wave you are in on the macro, for example, you can be in a wave 3, you could be in a wave 4, and you increase your positioning within the markets by threefold, basically, based on the probabilities, because you're on the macro. And by also following the rules and guidelines that the wave theory provides us, you can easily validate or invalidate your positions. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper and talk about why XRP is actually very bullish. What I've done here is I put 3 of the most talked about coins for this entire cycle, XRP, Ethereum, and Solana, respectively, into one chart so that you can see a clear view on where each of these coins are positioned from the wave theory perspective. And as I've said, as long as you have the larger macro picture wave counts, there's a very good chance that your wave counts are working for you instead of against you. Now, the reason why I think XRP may be in a massive run or has a lot of juice left in the tank is because XRP may be objectively in a clear impulse wave, a 5-wave move, okay? While Ethereum and Solana may be observing corrective structures where they lost momentum that changes the entire paradigm of what we traditionally know as the movers of the markets. Ethereum has traditionally been known to be the first mover usually. In fact, it did quite the opposite, where it was the last to move and was also the first to fail, showing massive disappointment. So that gave me further confidence that Ethereum might be in some kind of corrective structure on the macro. So we have seen massive loss of strength in from Ethereum and Solana over the past couple of weeks, and I think that's not flash news, but it definitely gives us a different point of view from a wave theory perspective, especially when looking at XRP. And you may be asking yourself why this may be happening. Why are we losing so much strength in Ethereum and Solana? There could be multiple reasons, of course. Now, the Elliott Wave Theory doesn't answer why, but it helps you understand on how to react to it and position yourself, because again, it goes back to the simple 5s and 3s, as you can see here. If you know what wave you are in on the macro, you know for sure that you can take and utilize that positioning and make sure that you can take profits or, look for actual targets down the road. Now, as I said, XRP may be an impulse. So as you can see here, XRP may be working for 5 waves to the upside, while Solana may have already achieved the 5-wave move up and now be in that corrective phase. As you can see here, Solana already did that 5-wave move to the upside. It had its opportunity to work for a wave 1-2 and finish off as a controlled pullback for a wave 1-2. But as you can see, we already had that cycle wave 1-2, and we need a larger 1-2 pullback of this primary degree. Ethereum, same idea. Since 2016, this might have been the 5-wave move in itself, and we now may be in market maturity where Ethereum might just be working in a large consolidated pattern with these wild volatility happening in between before finishing off that wave 2 again. So what that means is with the current cycle, it gives XRP that window of opportunity for that rotation of capital to come in. And this in return translates XRP to being in a strong trend within this current cycle in real-time analysis. Like I said, the 5-wave move is the trend in a bull market, like I said. So it may be suggesting that the dominant trend is still underway And after that, we had that massive triangle breakout. If XRP is now in a 5-way move up to complete a larger 5th wave, that implies it's still in a bullish phase with strong participation from everyone. We can sit here all day and talk about the ifs and buts on whether the trend is over, but if the price is still holding above a certain level, especially the Fibonacci levels, the trend is still in a very strong trend. You can't fight what the markets want, but you can definitely fight your emotional bias, and you can finally put that to rest on why you may hate XRP. Hopefully I can convince you by the end of this video. Now, Ethereum and Solana, on the other hand, lost their momentum and is retracing what could be that 3-way move, like I said, to the downside because of breaking strong support levels that failed to lose this bullish continuation. We've seen far stronger momentum to the downside over the course of the weeks, and it did that without hesitation. When a coin leads with impulsive structures while other coins are lagging, it means a few things here, and there are 3 main points I've narrowed it down to, which is the rotation of capital. While Ethereum and Solana corrects, capital could be in an obvious distribution towards coins that show strength like XRP to help continue that 5-wave move. So rotation of capital could be coming back into XRP. Number 2, the selective narrative. It means that there are only selective narratives for this current cycle, meaning that dino coins or coins with history are the most sought after coins. And number 3, XRP provides leadership rules. But how do these 3 points relate to the wave theory, and how can they all combine together? Well, for the first point, for the rotation of capital, when you see one coin impulsing like XRP while other coins are lagging, it means that money is definitely rotating into XRP. And this happens because traders are chasing that 5-way momentum no matter what. Even the haters will be chasing that momentum. That's what creates that FOMO for these waves 1s and 3s and 5s. And waves 1, 3s, and 5s are the impulse structures. And right now, since XRP has a clearly defined wave 1 complete here, we may just now be working in a smaller degree wave 2 correction of a larger 5 wave that's now still pending to be complete. If XRP is impulsing and Ethereum and Solana is chopping sideways and correcting, it really means that traders will likely rotate capital into XRP. But most importantly, maybe that smart money is positioning themselves that help prop up the price during these small pullbacks, where institutions or large players may already be allocating to XRP ahead of the broader move, which is that wave 3, which is going to be yet to be observed very soon, in my opinion. So the conclusion to that is follow the capital, and the waves are able to show that. If you follow the waves, it means you are also following where the capital is flowing into. And strong impulse waves can signal the beginning of a bigger reallocation phase, even in the late phase of this bull market, where Ethereum and Solana could start finally rotating into XRP. Now, for the second point, the selective narrative, this means that markets aren't just the charts, they're basically stories. When one asset begins to outperform others structurally, fundamentally, and technically, there may be an underlying shift in the sentiment or even expectation, even from the haters, like I said. For example, we had a major fundamental catalyst like the legal wins with XRP versus the SEC case in the United States, major partnerships, integrations with banks like what we're seeing happening behind the back doors in South Korea and Japan and so forth. This all happened in this accumulation phase. It didn't even happen during a bull run. It didn't even happen during a bear run. This right here is where all the price action has already happened. This is now the follow-up. And because of this, it creates an indirect herd psychology where traders may begin to believe in that narrative. And since we are pretty much at peak narrative where everyone knows XRP's capabilities from the fundamental side of things, as we did over here for the past 7 years, we're now seeing what was once a dead coin to now something where people are starting to believe that it actually may be turning from a speculative asset into a truly important asset. And then last but not least, XRP is without a doubt showing leadership capabilities in the macro trend, both fundamentally and technically as well. In every macro move, there are going to be leaders, and then there are coins that lag. Solana led the meme coin rally that arguably sparked the whole Bitcoin run, so we have to give thanks to them as well. But right now, since we're in the late phase of the bull market, XRP shows structural strength and implies that confidence is already in the minds of even the haters of XRP. It means that Solana and Ethereum traders might actually come back into, like I said, the rotational capital into XRP. And traders and investors build that conviction when they see consistent impulsive structures that become the benchmark for broader trend health. And right now, the move from the lows to the current levels to where we're at right now, around the $2 levels we are at right now, it shows that there is incredible incredible strength when we're actually seeing strong pullbacks and profit taking on these other larger blue chip coins. And if XRP is showing macro impulsive structures while others are definitely starting to look corrective, if these pullbacks are shallow and they're bought up quickly for XRP, that's a strong leadership signal. And since Ethereum and Solana have lost a bunch of their support levels in basically one go, it means that they're slowly losing their leadership capabilities. So let's dive into the technicals a little bit more. There's a really simple order flow analysis from a person named Credible on X. And he basically talks about the momentum indications with the price using the cumulative volume delta, or CVD for short. This is something that I also use. But in very short, if the CVD is positive, it means that there are more aggressive buyers, and negative CVD implies more aggressive sellers. But since price is rising and the CVD is falling in the overall trend, it implies that there is some kind of divergence happening where there is a clear spot absorption within the markets. And all the spot traders or spot sellers are active and they're hitting the bids to the downside that is shown in the falling CVD. Price is not dropping as much as it should be. This means that someone or something or some institution is absorbing these sells on the other side, likely a big buyer pricing large hidden or limit orders that soaks up these panic sell pressures in real time. So with that normal behavior, CVD being down, it usually implies that there should be a drop in the price, which happens in small areas. But now, since the CVD is down and price is continuously trying to stay propped up, it shows a structural change in the order flow. That's a big clue. And that in return creates what could be a classic bullish divergence behavior in the context of accumulation. It may imply that sellers are being exhausted and big players are stepping in quietly to accumulate. So price rising despite selling pressure implies that selling is ineffective and likely nearing its end and forming some kind of a local bottom. So this is where I'm coming in to see if any of this can be translated into the wave theory, and it does. And as you can see, XRP's pullback is far less pronounced than the other blue chip coins like Solana and Ethereum, like I said. And this gives me the implication that by also using the preceding waves, where we had a 7-year accumulation triangle, this breakout may just be the beginning. XRP is in a completely different timeline. And as you can see, this 5-wave move up can be just the beginning of what could be going into a wave 1. And this controlled pullback that we're seeing is just a wave 2 of a smaller intermediate degree that may be working for the expansion phase for this wave 3. This wave 3, in theory, should be far more profitable than this wave 1. So like I said, that goes back to what I was talking about. If you know where you may be positioned right now on the macro, we may be in that wave 1 and that wave 2 that may be concluding very soon. And right now, as you can see, on the overall macro structure, this would be the medium time frame. You can see there's a wave 4 here. Right now, I think that we're in the last phase of that bull market in that wave 4, but I do think that this wave 5 is going to be extremely profitable, especially now that the rotation of capital is also coming back into XRP from other coins like Solana, like Ethereum. And right now, what I do believe is that this XRP right here for this wave 3, a lot of these smart traders are still anticipating for higher levels. I don't think a 7-year accumulation is just, we're just going to go poof and it's gone, that a lot of people are selling off their positions here. It just doesn't make sense to me from even the fundamental or order flow analysis side of things. I think that this is all also taking into consideration for the wave theory that we are missing some waves to the upside. And that also brings me back to what I was talking about Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is also possibly working for a larger wave 5 to the upside as an extended 5th wave where we may be missing one more leg to the upside. This is also taking into consideration where all the markets are now starting to synchronize with Bitcoin. Now, that doesn't mean that Ethereum and Solana can rally. What I mean by that is I don't think that they're going to go in a bull market, but rather they may just be working in that B wave where momentum is going to be weak. However, they will experience a relief rally. So even for all of these coins, I still think that for all of these bearish coins, that is, I still do think that there's going to be a relief rally across the board. But right now, it's about choosing that selective narrative that I talked about, right? I think people are going to be selecting that narrative once the market starts to show investor confidence coming back into the market, I think a lot of people are going to choose XRP. And finally, with Bitcoin's also prediction of a possible extended fifth wave to the upside, that puts XRP in that same position that it also may be working for that fifth wave to the upside and maybe positioning itself to complete for higher levels. That's why I think we may actually be working for $20 to $30 to $40 by the end of the cycle. So hopefully that was helpful, ladies and gentlemen. That's my insight on the markets for XRP. I do really think that XRP is just showing more strength. There are possibilities for us to retest even the minimum expectation of that 38.2 Fibonacci level, that 61.8% Fibonacci level, but we haven't even retested those, while other coins like Solana and Ethereum are retesting some major support levels already on the micro time frames. So thank you very much. Hopefully that was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Bye-bye.